Before Chicago's Mafia Council, Vittorio tore Elena Marquez's badge from her champagne gown and called the Curvy manager too sloppy to stand among Bellandis. Luca had ordered her access removed, so the breach would fall on her. Elena did not bend for the badge. She opened the sealed schedule and showed 12 ghost workers headed toward the family trust. Then Luca saw whose dead token had admitted them. "Stop," Luca Bellandi said. Everyone froze. The two security officers beside Elena halted. Vittorio's polished shoe remained inches from the gold badge he had dropped on the marble. Luca crossed the ballroom without hurrying. He did not raise his voice or reach beneath his black jacket. He did not need either gesture. The men seated beneath the crystal chandeliers controlled freight yards, private security companies, port contracts, and hotels across Chicago. Yet every one of them watched the Mafia Boss lower himself and pick up Elena's badge. Vittorio straightened his cuffs. "You ordered her access removed." "I ordered an investigation," Luca said. "I did not authorize a performance." His gaze settled on his uncle. "And I did not authorize you to speak about her body." Vittorio's mouth hardened. Elena stood at the foot of the marble staircase, shoulders straight, despite the empty place on her gown. At 46, she had stopped apologizing for taking up space. Her plus-size figure filled the champagne dress with calm confidence. Its long sleeves and crystal beadwork, chosen for a night, she had spent 14 months preparing. Vittorio had tried to turn that body into evidence against her. A woman dressed like a social guest should not be directing Bellandi security, he said. A dock contractor near the council table gave a low laugh. Luca looked at him. The laugh died. "Your port services proposal is removed from tonight's agenda," Luca said. The contractor went pale. "Mr. Bellandi, I meant no disrespect. You mistook cruelty for permission." Luca turned to the security chief. "Escort him out." No one defended the contractor. No one even looked at him as security guided him through the ballroom doors. That was how Bellandi power worked. Luca did not shout. He changed a man's future in 6 words and returned his attention to Elena. He held out her badge. She did not take it. "Why did you order it removed?" she asked. Vittorio shifted at the direct challenge. But Luca did not. "My uncle presented a security report under your name, and you believed his title before checking my work. I acted before the council entered the room. You acted before asking me one question." The silence around them grew sharper. Luca's expression remained controlled, but Elena saw the discomfort beneath it. He was accustomed to opposition from men who wanted something from him. Elena wanted only the truth placed where everyone could see it. She lifted the ivory folder in her hands. "This is the final service schedule," she said. It was locked at 6. 12 names were added after that. They are listed as lighting workers. But the lighting crew left before the change appeared. Vittorio Siged. A late correction does not prove an attack. Elena opened the schedule and turned it toward Luca. The 12 badges belonged to a batch retired 8 months ago. Luca's eyes moved across the page. Where were they? Rooted below the Bellandi Trust archive. That answer changed the room. At midnight, the 5 family branches would sign an amendment controlling the Aurelian Hotel Group, the waterfront redevelopment, several freight companies, and a pension annex tied to thousands of employees. The trust was not merely a legal document. It was the map of the Bellandi Empire. Luca looked at Elena's badge in his hand. Your active credential, token 41C, and the false schedule token 77A. Vittorio folded his arms. Anyone could copy a number. Then check it. Elena's voice held no fear and no plea. She did not need Luca to rescue her. She needed him to stop obstructing the person already solving the problem. The security chief scanned the badge Luca held. Active token ends in 41C. He opened the schedule record. The revision used 77A. Registry, Elena said. The chief searched the retired list. His face changed. Token 77. A belonged to an executive event batch, deactivated last winter. A shocked murmur moved through the council guests. Elena had expected surprise. She had not expected Luca's reaction. His eyes lifted from the screen and found her. For a moment, the rest of the ballroom seemed to fall outside his attention. He saw the curvy operations manager, whom executives had treated like hired help. But he also saw the one person in the room who had remained precise, while men with inherited power rushed toward the wrong conclusion. His interest did not begin with pity. It began with respect. "What do you need?" he asked. Command access restored. Luca held the badge out again. Elena took it and fastened it to her gown herself. "Vendor doors locked," she said. "Retired badges frozen. No employee credential gets collected without my authorization. Security assignments return to the original schedule until I approve a change." Vittorio stepped forward. "You do not command family security." Luca turned slightly. "She does tonight." The words were quiet. Everyone froze again. Elena crossed to the ballroom command station. Pauline Hayes, a silver-haired server who had worked with her for 9 years, stood near the west doors, holding a champagne tray. She had witnessed the insult, the badge striking marble, and the way every executive had waited for Luca before deciding whether Elena deserved dignity. Elena touched 2 fingers to her wrist. "Hold your position." Pauline nodded and moved her team into formation. Elena opened the emergency control panel. Months earlier, after the hotel board rejected her request for better credential safeguards, she had built a temporary lockdown sequence herself. It could not repair the entire system, but it could isolate every retired badge at once. She entered 3 commands. Every dead credential turned red. The ballroom screens refreshed. 12 phantom workers disappeared from active access. Several men around the council table stared at the monitor. That took 3 seconds. One branch head said, "It took 14 years." Elena replied. Luca's mouth almost curved. Not pride in owning her. Pride in witnessing her refused to be diminished. A burst of voices filled Elena's earpiece. 6 servers had been locked out of the kitchen. Service carts were backing into the west corridor. Council vehicles were approaching the wrong entrance. Elena did not explain every technical cause. She acted. "Pauline, move your senior pair to the hotline." "Already moving." "Hold the west tables for 1 song. The quartet has 4 minutes. Use 2. Elena redirected the council vehicles through the north court, cleared the blocked corridor, and placed replacement staff where missing servers had left gaps. She issued short orders, each tied to a visible consequence. The delayed first course entered the ballroom less than 90 seconds late. Guests raised their glasses without realizing the gala had nearly stalled. Luca stood beside the command station and watched 7 separate failures collapse into one controlled service plan. "You did not ask permission," he said. "There was no time. You assumed I would support the decision." "No." Elena met his gaze. "I assumed I could defend it after the hotel was safe." Something heated behind Luca's restraint. Her competence drew him closer than beauty alone ever could. He noticed the strength in her full figure, the stillness of her hands, and the way the champagne fabric moved when she crossed between stations. But what held him was the mind directing the room. His possessive instinct rose before he had earned the right to feel it. He recognized that danger in himself and kept his hands at his sides. A Northline security supervisor approached Elena from behind and reached toward her earpiece. Luca caught the man's wrist before he touched her. The movement was fast and controlled. The supervisor winced. No one touches her without permission. Luca growled. The ballroom nearest them fell silent. Elena looked at Luca's hand around the man's wrist. Release him. Luca did. Immediately. That mattered. Elena faced the supervisor. What did you need? To check whether your channel had been compromised. You ask, before reaching for equipment attached to my body. Yes. Ma'am. Luca looked ready to remove the man from the building. Elena lifted one finger. I do not need him on his knees. I need his access checked. The chief scanned the supervisor's badge. It was valid. But Elena noticed a small black anchor pin beneath his hotel crest. She did not recognize it. Luca did. Argent Harbor, he said. The supervisor's face went blank. Argent Harbor Protection had once guarded Bellandi docks and freight yards. Luca had cancelled its contracts after finding overlapping invoices routed through shell companies. The firm was supposed to be gone from every Bellandi property. Who hired you? Luca asked. Northline. Who approved the subcontract, I do not know. Luca released no threat. He simply looked at the security chief. Separate every officer wearing that pin. Preserve their phones and access cards. No one leaves. The supervisor was escorted away. Elena studied Luca. That was not hotel knowledge. No, it was yours. Luca looked at the retired credentials on her screen. Your schedule found the door. My contracts may tell us who paid to open it. For the first time, they stood as two experts rather than a boss and an employee. Elena knew every operational artery inside the Aurelian. Luca understood the family companies, hidden partnerships, and loyalties that extended far beyond the hotel. Neither could finish the night alone. The command screen flashed. A retired badge had just cleared service elevator 2. That elevator does not reach the ballroom, Luca said. It reaches the floor below the archive. Security began moving. Halt, Elena ordered. The chief looked at Luca. Luca did not repeat her command. He merely looked back at the chief. The men stopped. Elena checked the elevator weight. No one entered the car. Then, the scan was bait. Luca said, someone wanted security to chase an empty elevator. The chief checked his deployment. 4 guards had already been redirected toward the lower floor. Only one remained near the north service stairs. Elena contacted him. The guard did not answer. She tried again. A breathless voice finally came through. I was reassigned to the kitchen junction. By whom? Executive security. Luca's gaze shifted toward Vittorio. His uncle remained calm. My office is not the only source of executive orders. That was true. The council chair's channel had 6 authorized users. Raymond Shaw, the hotel's general manager, could approve staffing changes. Another Bellandi branch controlled a freight services account tied to the hotel. Northline maintained old security data. Vittorio had access. He did not yet stand alone. Return the guard to the north stairs, Elena said. Do not open the archive. Photograph the seal and the reader." The security chief complied. Pauline entered the command alcove, carrying no tray. Human Resources collected 6 employee badges. She said. They already had written statements with the workers' names. Elena's calm cracked for half a second. Statements saying what? That they entered a restricted floor. The 6 employees had not gone near the archive. Someone was preparing blame before the breach had happened. Elena took Pauline's hand. "Keep every worker away from Human Resources. No one signs anything." Pauline squeezed once. "I knew you would say that." Luca watched them. He had seen Elena control elevators, service lanes, and security routes. This was different. Pauline trusted her, because Elena had spent years protecting people whose names never appeared in council minutes. Luca turned to his chief. "Any Bellandi company that threatens an employee for refusing an undocumented statement loses my protection." Vittorio's attention sharpened. "You cannot make financial promises before we know who participated. I can prevent coercion. You are exposing the family to liability. I am removing leverage from whoever planned this." Elena looked at Luca again. That decision did not come from her hotel expertise. It came from his authority over the family network. He was beginning to use his power for something other than control. The North Guard sent a photograph. The archive seal remained intact, but the card reader casing had been opened. "They are creating false access records," Elena said. "They do not need to enter the archive yet. They need the system to say our employees did. Then Pauline's team becomes the explanation." Luca said, "Yes." Raymond Shaw arrived with a personnel file beneath his arm. His bow tie sat slightly crooked, and sweat marked his collar. "Before we accuse the council," he said, "you should review Ms. Marquez's history." He placed 3 formal complaints on the command desk. One described Elena as hostile to executive leadership. Another accused her of claiming the hotel could not function without her. The third alleged that she had threatened to embarrass the Bellandi family if denied promotion. Elena recognized 2. Both had been filed after she challenged unsafe staffing and false vendor bills. The third was new. "Who submitted that one?" she asked. "Confidential." "Then it is not evidence. It establishes motive. It establishes that someone controlled my personnel file." Vittorio remained beside the ballroom rail. He did not press the accusation. That restraint made him appear reasonable. "If Elena is being framed," he said, "we should clear her through procedure rather than emotion." Luca looked at him. "You mocked her body in front of the council." Vittorio's jaw tightened. "That was beneath me." It sounded almost like accountability. Almost. Then the archive system sounded an alarm. The monitor displayed one name: Elena Marquez. The log claimed her badge had opened the archive door. Every face turned toward her. Her real badge was still pinned to her gown. Raymond stepped between Elena and the control panel. "Remove her from command. Open the token field," Elena said. "Security must secure the system first. The token field will tell you whether the entry is mine." Vittorio looked at Luca. "Until it is verified. She cannot control the same records being used to investigate her." The argument was plausible. It also exploited Luca's deepest weakness. His father had once lost a port company after trusting a forged record from an outsider over a blood relative's warning. Since then, Luca had treated family loyalty as a damaged shield he could not afford to discard. Elena saw the old fear enter his eyes. "Do not do this," she said. "I am removing you from the accusation." Luca replied, "No, You are removing me from the place where I can disprove it. I will put guards with you. I did not ask for guards. They are for your protection. Protection without consent is control. Luca's jaw tightened. He wanted to move Elena away from every threat, put his men around her, and keep her where no one could reach her. The impulse was dark, immediate, and possessive. It was also wrong. He had not yet learned the difference. Lock her command access, he ordered. The chief hesitated. Elena unpinned her badge before he could touch it. Token 41C turned red. She placed the badge on the table. That badge controls access, she said. It does not contain competence. Luca flinched as though the words had found a place no weapon could reach. Vittorio extended his hand toward Elena's ivory folder. The original schedule remains with security. Elena pulled it against her body. No, it is Bellandi property. It is the only record that has not passed through an executive office. Luca stepped between them. For one moment, Elena believed he had chosen her. Then he looked at the chief. Escort Miss Marquez to the North Conference Room. Preserve the folder under guard. You are securing the hierarchy, Elena said. I am securing the evidence. You are leaving the evidence inside the structure that forged my name. I will not let anyone harm you. You already did. His face changed. Elena held the folder against the soft curve of her waist. Months earlier, Luca had refused a port contractor's demand to fire 20 workers after a labor dispute. Elena had watched him protect people who could offer him nothing. That night, she had allowed herself to believe he might be different from the rest of his family. She had never told him. Now she did. I thought you might be better than them, she said quietly. I was not foolish enough to place my freedom in that hope. The blow landed. Luca still did not reverse the order. You promised what you needed from me until Blood objected, Elena said. A second archive alarm sounded. The monitor again displayed her name. Her real badge remained on the table, in full view of everyone. Elena pointed to it. Open the token. The security chief expanded the entry. 77A. The retired badge. Shocked silence spread through the room. The system claimed Elena had opened the archive, while her real credential lay disabled on the desk. Her identity had been copied, so someone else could move beneath her name. Raymond lowered himself into a chair. Vittorio's assistant went pale near the ballroom doors. Vittorio did not panic. That clears Elena, he said. It does not identify the person using the token. He was right again. Luca stared at the authentic badge he had ordered disabled. He had locked out the woman telling the truth, while the forgery continued operating. Restore her command, he said. Elena did not reach for the badge. No. Luca faced her. You were right. That does not restore trust. What does a written charter? The original stays with me. No employee is questioned without an incident record and counsel. No executive overrides an operational order without placing his name on it. Vittorio gave a cold laugh. She is demanding command over the Bellandi Council. I am demanding control over the work I will be blamed for. Luca picked up the badge, but did not attempt to fasten it to her gown. What else? When this is over, I leave with a clean record, whether I save your Gala or not. Something possessive moved across his expression. He wanted to tell her she was not leaving. He wanted to close every exit and force the world to wait until she understood what she had become to him. Instead, he asked, Is that your price? It is not a price. Elena held his gaze. It is freedom. Luca ordered the charter drafted, while outside counsel prepared it. He opened the Bellandi contract registry. The black anchor pins on the temporary guards led to Argent Harbor protection. Argent Harbor's remaining debts had been transferred to a holding company, managed by trustees appointed through the council chair's office. Vittorio looked at the record, without visible fear. I inherited that portfolio after the company collapsed. Who approved its officers for tonight? Luca asked. Northline. Northline says the request came through a Bellandi subcontract. Then, investigate the subcontract. Luca did. The attorney who registered the holding company also managed a legal account inside Vittorio's office. The account had prepared a severance agreement for Elena at 4:12 that afternoon, hours before the security breach. Raymond stared at the document. I did not request that. The agreement offered Elena a large payment in exchange for surrendering the original schedule and signing a broad non-disclosure clause. Vittorio looked unimpressed. A contingency for an employee who had become difficult. Elena closed the folder. You prepared to silence me before the problem you blamed on me existed. An attorney prepared a document. An attorney tied to your security contractor. Vittorio looked at Luca. You are building a case from offices I supervise, because I supervise more of this family than anyone else. Luca's answer came softly. That explanation survives until one physical document shows who benefited. Elena returned to the root. She believed the trust amendment itself was the target. If it vanished, the signing would fail and the family would fall into dispute. Place security around the archive. She said, no folio moves. Luca studied the emergency succession clause. Then he shook his head. If the amendment disappears, I remain acting chairman. Elena looked at him. What changes if the Gala is declared compromised? 3 branch heads can invoke emergency succession. And who takes control? The council chair becomes interim custodian. Vittorio's face did not move. Luca continued. The custodian freezes my audit, suspends vendor reviews, and takes temporary control of the family reserve. Elena looked at the route again. It passed the archive. It also passed the pension records room. The pension annex, she said. Luca nodded. That annex contained the accounting trail connecting hotel staffing vendors, port contractors, and family reserves. Removing it would bury the money, while emergency succession placed the investigation under Vittorio's office. Elena had read the route correctly. She had misunderstood the target. Her archive lockdown left the document staging office and private pantry less protected than they should have been. I missed it, she said. No excuse. No attempt to make herself infallible. I protected the obvious room. A report arrived from Pauline. Employees from the West Wing were being moved into the old banquet room for questioning. At the same time, a sealed case had been registered through document staging. Elena's mistake had cost them time. Luca did not seize the moment to appear smarter. He changed the plan. Leave the archive guards visible. He told the chief, put my personal team near staging without entering them on the hotel channel. Vittorio stepped closer. You are bringing private soldiers into a council event. I am removing compromised contractors. Luca contacted the Bellandi bank and outside counsel. Before he knew whether Elena would stay, he signed orders protecting every hourly worker's wages, legal representation, and employment record. No Bellandi company could fire or blacklist anyone connected to the Gala without independent review. Then he suspended his own executive override. The room reacted more strongly to that than to any threat. Luca had voluntarily surrendered part of his power, while a coup might already be moving through the building. Elena watched him sign. This was not tenderness. It was accountability beginning to take physical form. The emergency charter arrived. Luca signed it first. Elena read every line. Only then did she accept her badge. Luca held it out. Their fingers nearly touched. He looked at the empty place on her gown, and then at her face. "May I?" he asked. Elena understood the question. He wanted to fasten the badge, where Vittorio had torn it away. No. Luca lowered his hand. She took the badge and pinned it herself. The moment became more intimate, because he had listened. Elena restored the legitimate workers and preserved the false root. Luca cleared the corridor outside the conference room and waited until they were alone. "I knew about Seattle," he said. Elena stopped. "Cascadia Event Integrity requested your employment verification. Their headquarters are in Seattle. You investigated me." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I wanted to know whether you were leaving. The honesty did not make the intrusion acceptable. You wanted information before offering trust." "Yes." "You do not own my future because you are afraid of losing access to me." Luca's gaze moved across her face. "No." He handed her his phone. The record showed only Cascadia's name and verification request. Luca had already issued an order ending any further inquiry. No one had collected her salary, address, travel plans, or private correspondence. He had crossed the boundary. He had also stopped before Elena forced him to. "I once saw you protect port workers from a contractor who wanted them fired," she said. "That was when I began thinking, you might be different. You never told me. I never trusted the thought enough." "What would make you trust it now?" "Nothing you say tonight." Luca accepted the answer. The trust transfer was approaching. He removed a signed release from inside his jacket. It cleared Elena's employment record, released her from the hotel's non-disclosure restrictions, guaranteed her, withheld overtime, and prohibited Bellandi's security from following her without consent. No clause required her to continue helping. "You signed this before the crisis ended," she said. "Yes." "Why?" "Your freedom cannot depend on whether you save me." Elena studied him for the first time. Luca's desire did not arrive as an order. "What happens if I leave?" "The charter remains in force. The employees keep their wages and counsel. My team holds the routes you identified. The council signs nothing until both folios are verified. And Vittorio. He keeps his title until the evidence takes it." Luca opened the north exit. Cold air moved through the service courtyard. A protective instinct tightened every line of his body. He wanted to place his hand around Elena's waist, pull her against him, and refuse to let the dark city take her beyond his reach. He did none of those things. "No one will follow you," he said. Elena removed the badge. She placed it on the narrow table between them. "The original schedule leaves with me." "Yes, you may need it. It belongs with the woman who kept it honest." Elena stepped outside. The door remained open behind her. Her rideshare waited near the loading dock. She placed her overnight case in the trunk and gave the driver her apartment address. The Aurelian receded behind her, its windows glowing above the river. Elena opened the Cascadia offer. The Seattle position paid more, provided 2 deputies, and placed her outside family control. She could accept before morning and never return to the Bellandi hotel. The ivory folder shifted beside her. Elena opened it to secure the original schedule. Without men arguing around her, She saw the route differently. It passed the archive, crossed document staging, and ended beside an old freight dispatch tube connected to the ballroom pantry. The false folio did not need to leave through the guarded archive door. It could enter the ballroom from behind the kitchen, while everyone watched the wrong corridor. Her phone rang. "Pauline, they moved us," Pauline whispered. "Who security officers with black anchor pins? They locked the West team inside the old banquet room. Did they give you incident records? No. What do they want? They have statements saying, 'Our badges opened the archive.'" A man shouted in the background. Pauline lowered her voice. "They want signatures before midnight." Elena's calm broke. "Do not sign anything." Someone tried to take Pauline's phone. "Elena." The call ended. Elena stared at the Seattle offer. Freedom remained real. So did the consequence of walking away. She had misread the target. Workers who trusted her were paying for the lost time. Elena called Luca. He answered before the first ring completed. "Where are the hourly employees? They should be at their stations. They are being held by Argent Harbor men. They are being forced to sign statements." Luca's voice turned cold. "I gave no such order. The archive is the distraction. The false folio will enter through the pantry." "How long?" "Less than 15 minutes. I will close it." "No. If they know we see the route." "They destroy the folio and keep the employees as suspects." "What do you need?" "Keep the council seated. Put trusted men near the pantry. Do not touch either case until I arrive." "You are coming back?" "Yes." "For me, no." Elena looked at Pauline's dark phone screen. "I am not coming back for the Bellandis. I am coming back for you." She meant Pauline. She meant every server. Cook, porter, runner, and housekeeper, whose name powerful families learned only when they needed someone to blame. Luca did not claim her decision. "I will hold the room." Elena leaned toward the driver. "Turn around." The hotel. The front entrance. Not the loading court. No. She closed the ivory folder. This time, they see me arrive. The car stopped beneath the Aurelian's white stone canopy. Elena stepped out in the same champagne gown, her full figure framed by the entrance lights. The empty place where her badge had been still visible. Cameras turned. Executives stared. The curvy woman they had watched leave under suspicion crossed the marble lobby, carrying the only original record that could expose the attack. No one escorted her through a service hallway. She entered through the front doors. Luca stood beneath the ballroom arch. He did not rush forward to take the folder or wrap a possessive hand around her waist. He opened the doors and stepped aside. Inside, the 5 branch heads waited around the signing table. Vittorio stood beside a sealed black case brought from the archive. A service attendant emerged from the pantry, carrying a second case. Both displayed the Bellandi crest. Only one carried a numbered serial strip. Elena climbed the first marble step. "Do not place either folio on that table." The attendant stopped. Vittorio looked toward Luca. "She no longer works for this hotel." "That does not change where the second case came from," Elena said. Luca moved to the foot of the staircase. "No one interrupts Miss Marquez." Everyone froze. 2 of Luca's trusted men stepped from the columns and closed the pantry exits. The security chief entered from the side corridor. The workers are free. The prepared statements are preserved. Pauline appeared behind him with her restored badge in her hand. Elena unfolded the original schedule across the marble railing. She gave the council only the chain that mattered. 12 ghost workers created false access records. Real employee badges were collected to create suspects. Compromised guards pulled security toward the archive. A false folio moved through document staging and the pantry. The public failure would have triggered emergency succession before midnight. One branch head looked at the two cases. "Open them." Vittorio placed his hand over the serialized case. "The council chair controls trust procedure." Luca answered, "Emergency succession makes the council chair interim custodian. It freezes my audit and gives his office control of the reserve." Vittorio looked at his nephew. "The clause protects continuity. It protects the person who planned to invoke it." Outside counsel approached. Security photographed both cases. The pantry case carried a duplicate Bellandi crest, but no valid serial strip. The archive case carried the numbered seal. The false case was opened first. Inside lay an amendment naming Vittorio Bellandi interim chairman. The pension annex was missing. The authentic case was opened. The original amendment remained intact. The pension annex was attached. Vittorio looked from one folio to the other. "A forged document does not prove I ordered it." Luca placed the Argent Harbor, holding record beside the false amendment. "The men detaining the workers came through a company controlled by trustees, appointed by your office." Outside, counsel added Elena's pre-written severance agreement. The legal account preparing her silence agreement also represented that holding company. Elena placed the original schedule beside them, the retired badges, the false guards, and the pantry route came through separate systems. Every one of them ended under the same control. Vittorio turned toward Raymond. "You approved the badge collection." Raymond faced the council. "Because his assistant told me it came from family security." Vittorio's assistant stepped forward. He ordered the old executive badge batch retained after Argent Harbor lost its contract. That was the missing action. Not office access. Not administrative inheritance. A direct order, preserving the exact credentials used in the attack. Vittorio's control broke. "You would trust frightened employees over your own blood." Luca did not answer. Elena did. "I trust the evidence you could not intimidate." One branch head stood. "Place the council key on the table." Vittorio looked at Luca, expecting the old loyalty to save him. Luca remained still. The council clerk lifted a silver tray. Vittorio removed the black and gold key from his pocket. It struck the tray with a hard metallic note. No one forced him to kneel. Losing the key was worse. Every contract he had controlled, every assistant who had feared him, and every executive who had repeated his opinions as orders, watched his authority disappear into a piece of silver held by a clock. Security moved to either side of him. Vittorio looked up at Elena. "This family will discard you when your usefulness ends." Elena closed the original schedule. "That was your rule." She looked toward Luca. "It does not have to remain his." Vittorio was escorted through the ballroom doors. Pauline entered first, when the detained workers were invited into the room. Servers, cooks, housekeepers, porters, and runners followed her across the same marble floor where Elena's badge had been dropped. Luca approached the staircase, but stopped one step below Elena. He did not reach for her. He faced the council and the employees. "I removed Elena Marquez's authority before examining the evidence," he said. "I trusted family rank over proven competence. I used her when I needed her, and questioned her character when she resisted my family." He turned to outside counsel. "Place that in the official record." Then Luca removed his family's signet and set it beside Vittorio's counsel key. "My executive override remains suspended until independent controls replace it." He faced the workers. "Your wages and records are protected." No Bellandi company will punish anyone for refusing an undocumented order tonight. His apology ended. His actions continued. The hotel board chair placed an emergency charter beside Elena's folder. "What replaces the old structure?" she asked. Elena gave 3 conditions. No executive override without an independent record. No employee loses a badge. Vargas. Or standing without an incident report and the right to challenge it. Operations and integrity remains independent of Bellandi family authority. The branch heads approved. Outside counsel signed. Luca signed. A separate employment contract waited beside the charter. Elena signed only the emergency charter. She left the employment contract untouched. The council watched her protect the hotel without surrendering her right to leave it. At midnight, the authentic amendment was signed with the pension annex attached. The false folio was sealed. Argent Harbor's contracts were frozen. The audit continued outside family control. Pauline and the other workers were released with full pay, near dawn. Elena walked toward the front doors. Luca followed. He caught up beneath the stone canopy as her car approached. But he stopped several feet away rather than blocking the door. Elena. She turned. For the first time that night. The Mafia Boss looked like a man without an order that could save him. "The council is waiting," she said. "Let them. That empire is everything your family taught you to protect. It means nothing if I have to become Vittorio to keep it." Elena's expression softened. But she did not step closer. Luca's voice dropped. "I want you beside me. That sounds like possession. It would be if I denied your choice." The dark hunger in his eyes did not disappear. He simply refused to turn it into a cage. "If you leave, I will not stop you," he said. "If you stay, it will not be as my employee, my secret, or a woman wearing power. I lent her. What would it be? As Elena Marquez." He took one breath. "The woman who made my counsel face the truth." Elena studied him. "Do not call me your queen if the crown depends on you." Luca almost smiled. "Then write the terms yourself." Her car stopped. Elena opened the door. She did not allow him to embrace her, press her against the vehicle, or replace one form of control with another. She left. 6 months later, Elena entered the Aurelian through the front doors, wearing a tailored cream suit over her soft, full figure. A new badge rested against her jacket. It read, "Elena Marquez, Chief Operations and Integrity Officer." The department reported to an independent board committee. 2 deputies had begun leading hotel operations. The first overtime settlements had been paid. Pension funds identified by the audit were returning under court supervision. Temporary credential controls had been replaced throughout the hotel group. Vittorio no longer held council authority. Elena had accepted the position only after her own attorney secured independent power, earned equity, and an unrestricted right to leave. Luca waited in the lobby without guards. He wore a charcoal suit and carried no contract, badge, or family signet. Elena stopped several feet away. "No emergency?" she asked. "None. No council waiting upstairs. None. No empire collapsing. Not tonight." He held up a restaurant card. 1. Dinner. Public table. No private room. No security unless you request it. And if I say no, I go home. And tomorrow, you remain the woman who can overrule me inside this hotel." Elena looks down at her badge. At the beginning of the story, Luca had allowed another man to tear one from her gown. Now he did not reach for it. The authority attached to her name no longer depended on his desire. No protection, disguised as control. She said, "Agreed. No investigation into my private life. Agreed. No family power used to win an argument. Agreed. When fear makes you possessive, you tell me the truth before you issue an order." Luca held her gaze. "That will be the hardest condition. It is still a condition. I accept it." Elena took the restaurant card. "One dinner. One dinner," Luca said. She stepped toward him. "May I?" he asked. Elena answered by placing his hands at her waist. Only then did Luca draw her curvy body against him. The embrace was strong, but the choice belonged to her. When she pulled back, he released her at once. They walked through the same lobby where her badge had struck the marble. Elena was not entering the Mafia Boss's world beneath borrowed protection. She carried authority in her own name, kept an open exit behind her, and chose the dangerous man beside her, only after he learned that desire without freedom was not love.